Good afternoon, everybody.
Congratulations, sir.
Yeah.
Welcome to the November 13th meeting of the City of Muskegon's Planning Commission. Get everybody started. We're going to do roll call.
We are.
Planning Commissioner Simmons, Blake,
Here.
Mazade,
Here.
Peter, Rauron,
Here.
Cypher,
Here.
Montgomery Keys,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Willett Leroy. Here. Okay, we have a quorum. And may I have a motion for the approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported to approve the minutes from the special meeting of October 23rd, 2025. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion's approved. Today we have 3 public hearings on the agenda. Item A, case 2025-40, request for a special use permit to operate a gas station at 2021 Marquette Avenue by Jaswinder Singh. And I believe we have a staff report.
Yes, so the properties at 2021 and 2033 Marquette will be combined. It's the location of the current Sunny Mart, which will also now have a gas station, including the addition to the convenience store, and the self-operated car wash will be started back up into business. And the current convenience store is about 2,700 square feet, and there'll be a 1,920 square foot addition. Special use permit is required for the gas station. It'll be an 8-pump gas station with 1 canopy with a storage tank to the south of the existing car wash. And there will be a fence to the south of the property, which is required to screen from residential properties. There will be an opening, however, so that car traffic can utilize the alley as well. We do also have an exercise to go over for the special use permit once we handle any questions.
Okay, and I believe we have an applicant here. If anybody from the applicant would like to make a statement or give us any additional information, let us know.
I'll speak. My name
If
is
you just
Nick.
come right up here, sorry.
Thank you. My name is Matthew Schwallenberg. I'm with Spicer Group. We're representing the applicant for the gas station and car wash. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have regarding the materials that I've submitted.
Okay, thank you. We will, hello. I will see if we have any additional questions for the applicant. At this time, we have a public hearing, so we're going to do some initial discussion and then we'll open it up. Go ahead.
Yeah, your plans look really good. I'm curious about electronic vehicle charging. Are you thinking about any of that in the future or accommodating that down the road?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Electronic or electric vehicle charging, EV charging?
That I would need to talk with the applicant about. I don't know myself. It hasn't been mentioned in our design discussions.
Okay.
It's not contemplated at this time. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions at this time? Just for the sake of being able to see the map on the screen, if we could, can we clarify the ownership of the alley between the property and the storage unit to the south?
The city alley.
Okay, just checking that while we're there, that's going to need some attention in order for this to be successful. It's pretty terrible. Drove through there today. Okay, and then for landscaping, if we could look through kind of the back end here, we have some trees that are already on the corner, the southwest corner of the property. Do you have a plan already for landscaping in place?
Yes, we do have a landscaping plan. It is on should be the last sheet of the plan set.
Yeah, I was very impressed by their landscaping plan. They kind of went above and
it's
beyond.
actually, yeah.
Let's back up a little bit. Scroll right.
Oh, I'm sorry, one before. Yep.
Right there. Yeah. Okay. So I thought so. We have these circles here on the bottom right-hand corner. Those are intended to be deciduous trees. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there any capacity for any of them to be non-deciduous trees? And I bring that up because I drove by today and it's now November and the trees that are there are already have no leaves. And so that really removes kind of any screening between that property and the neighboring There's like a volleyball court and some residents there.
So that was, the landscaping plan was done by our planning department. I personally do not see any issue with swapping out some of those deciduous trees for other trees, coniferous trees.
Just keep that conversation open if we could. I think that would make an impact to the neighborhood. It's very close to the residents just to the south, as I'm sure you're aware. So that would help the character of the neighborhood as well. Okay, any other questions at this time? If not, I'm going to go ahead and open up to a public hearing. Thank you. We'll come back to you in a moment. I don't have anyone in the audience, but this is a public hearing, so if anybody would like to come forward, they may. Therefore, I will go to the phones. 231-724-6721. Give it a minute. Anybody? Nobody. I will take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Public hearing is closed. Okay. Any final discussion from folks?
Just one more note. I did mention in the staff report that the engineering department was still working with the applicant. They met last week. They've agreed to some changes about the entrance off of Marquette, since it's only 25-foot setback from the intersection, which is our standard, so they did meet that. However, I do believe we might want to readdress that and make that a little bit larger. The engineering department did feel like that was a little too close to the intersection for that large of a curb cut, so they are willing to work on that with us. So I would just ask that another condition on the approval would be that staff will approve the final site plan based on those discussions with the engineering department.
In that regard, again, I drove by 3 o'clock this afternoon on my way here. It was a very busy time, the college and other folks kind of coming and going. And so it is a very busy space. And I think any additional capacity for people to travel through that space would be welcomed.
Just a question on that for Director Franzik. So 25 feet back from the intersection. So that's obviously the one on Marquette. What about the one on Corridor Line? Was that one they're looking at? Well, I guess they really couldn't move that because the building's there. Never mind.
Yeah, that one is a little close too. I'm not sure they can move it with the building there.
Yeah.
Okay, so in order to move this item forward, we're currently looking at a potential condition on the final site plan to contemplate a further setback.
Of the
Curb cut.
curb cut.
Curb
yes.
cut.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good job.
And could you kind of just describe kind of how you'll finally review that landscaping plan if they're willing to make some changes to the tree style?
Yeah, we could review that as the same time as when we review the curb cuts. So if you want to make that a condition that deciduous trees or evergreen trees get put back there, I think that would be a good idea.
Okay, I'll attempt to take this away.
Thank you.
I move the request for a special use permit to operate a gas station at 2021 Marquette Avenue be approved based on the findings of facts and the exercise in the staff report with the following conditions. 1, a stormwater permit is obtained from the engineering department. 2, a updated site plan reflecting modified curb cuts is approved by the planning planning department. And 3, the landscaping plan is updated to include a mix of coniferous and deciduous trees.
I will so support that.
Moved and supported. May I have a roll call, please?
Prior to going to the roll call, just so that it's on the record in the discussion, can we run through the test?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. Sorry.
So I answered
reminder.
our typical questions under the section for special use permits, which would be, would the proposed expansion be considered offensive or a nuisance because any of the following: increased traffic? No. Increased noise? No. Increased vibration? No. Increased light? No. Does adequate water and sewer infrastructure exist, or will it be constructed to service a special land use or activity? Yes, it currently exists. And then there are the 5 criteria for a gas station for a special use permit, and that's that the curb cuts for ingress and egress shall be at least 25 feet from the street intersection. They do meet that, and they'll be looking to increase that for us. The minimum lot area shall be 10,000 square feet, and so arrange that ample space is available for motor vehicles, which are required to wait. Also agree there shall be provided on site abutting adjacent residential district a 4-foot completely obscuring wall or fence. Also on the plan. All lighting shall be shielded from adjacent residential districts and from abutting streets. They do have cutoff lighting, and there are no restrooms outside that face the residential districts, so that condition is met as well. And it's just a consensus if the planning commission agrees on these.
Is there any
I'll
discussion of opposition to any of those? Seeing none.
So
Do you have
I would
another item?
just ask that that be included in the minutes. You just pull it. Yep. Cool.
Reflected that
Yeah.
there's no objection or opposition.
Yep.
Yeah.
One actual last question. Do we know if the, excuse me, do you have a plan of whether the restrooms will currently be available to the public?
I do not. I was just involved with the civil planning and not the architectural plans at all, or building plans, I should say.
Are the restrooms are currently facing the exterior or are they in the interior?
They're on the interior. They're not. They're not the
Yeah.
I
exterior.
remember seeing a door to one.
Yeah.
So probably inside.
All right,
Just
just
it's
Yeah.
pretty normal.
a question on that. All right, roll call.
Commissioner Willett Leroy,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Montgomery Keast,
Yes.
Seifert,
Yes.
Gowron,
Yes.
Mazade,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
and Simmons.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you for coming. You're welcome to stay.
Congratulations.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you for investing in Muskegon.
We do have 2 additional public hearings on our agenda. Item B, case 2025-41, staff initiated request to amend section 2307 of the zoning ordinance to modify the permitted yard encroachment criteria.
So this amendment is to clarify some information in the permitted yard encroachment section of the ordinance. The amendment will clean up some language regarding porches that encroach into the front setback requirement, and also allow steps to encroach even further into that requirement. It also eliminates number 4 in the section that describes regulations for subdivisions that were 90% developed prior to 1940. I've never known why that was put in there, and I can't even locate the area they were talking about. But the good thing is zoning reform replaced the need to even have this wherever it is, so.
So it does mention you have a red line version of the amendments in the attachments. So there will be some changes to the language. Do I have any initial discussion? Otherwise, we'll go to a public hearing. Okay, this is a public hearing. However, there's currently no one in the audience, so again, I'll go to the phone. 231-724-6721.
We're so popular.
I know. I got my hair done. So we're gonna hand it to me.
Popular.
I am seeing none. I have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported to close the public hearing.
Jump in there.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Thank you. Okay. Any further discussion?
I move the request to amend section 2307 of the zoning ordinance to modify the permitted yard encroachment criteria be recommended to the city commission for approval.
Support.
Moved and supported. Item B. Seeing no interest in further discussion, roll call, please.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
Mazade,
Yes.
Gowron,
Yes.
Seifert,
Yes.
Montgomery Keast,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
and Willett Leroy.
Yes.
It'll be
Motion
neat tripping over those
passes.
steps.
Final item on the agenda, item C, public hearing, case 2025-42, staff initiated request to amend section 2319 of the zoning ordinance to modify the residential design criteria.
So these minor amendments are to address some incorrect information in the zoning ordinance that was created from the zoning reform being approved. We can simply just take these out now. Also want to add in a new requirement that the house must have a door on the front, which we never realized that we needed to specify that, but we have 2 new houses that do not have doors on the front. But actually it works out where they are. I think is it Walton?
Yeah.
It's just south of the old farmer's market. They're up on a hill, so you can't even see it. So no one would come in that way anyways. I think that would have been a good case for a variance if this had been a rule. So it didn't really mess anything up. They're fine looking houses, but we thought it would probably make sense to make that a requirement going forward.
Is that for aesthetic reasons?
Yeah.
Okay,
And
I got
eyes on the street,
Yeah.
safer neighborhoods, stuff like
I
that.
got a crazy question about that though. There are a lot of houses where the door, I mean, there's a front porch, but the door doesn't actually face the street. It's like sits like this, and the street's right here, and you come up the porch and you go on the door on the side. Is that still going to be allowed? Because
I guess I can't picture that.
If you
Yeah, there-
reworded it
House on
street
Apple like
instead
that.
of I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
The
so-
door faces a different cardinal
It's-
direction than the street. but it's on the
perpendicular
side.
instead of
The way that
parallel.
As long
this
as it's on the front facade, that
Like it's just
Okay.
like front facing.
the way I read that, it was like it's
Front
got to
situated.
face the front street, and I'm like thinking to myself,
Well, you
Frank
could do
Lloyd
something
Wright
cool.
didn't build that way. I mean,
No.
there's
like a
just-
corner store that has the door on the angle on the side.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
could do that.
And we already
Okay.
have the
Suppose.
architectural offset anyways, which requires the porch. It's a certain width. So they would have to, at that point, do something.
Actually, my parents' house, the door does not face the road.
right,
To think
but
but the
on
house,
the front
but
side
it's
of
on the front
house.
side of the house. It's just that the house is deep, and so it's on the side. And actually, they've got an identical house on Lakeshore Drive to my parents' house. That same
so
thing.
do you guys read
Yeah.
this that way, that it's got to be front facing to the street? I hate to put be super restricted on that. I understand putting it on the front of the house.
No, it says directly accessed from and face the
Yeah.
front street.
Okay,
So I
and you
think,
guys
yeah,
feel good about that?
I think the access
Okay.
point is what.
As long as you
yeah.
feel good about it.
And
Yeah.
face the front.
Yeah.
I was
And
reading
one
too
thing
much
we
into
wanted
it.
to make sure we did is at first we had it written that all doors, but we don't want that because if it's
No.
multifamily,
Yeah.
we would like to encourage having them
Yeah.
around the house.
Yeah.
Right. Well understood.
And
Okay,
that
great.
being said, it does mention house versus multifamily. So can we look at that one more time? Make
That
sure
would
this-
still be considered a housing structure.
Great. Thanks for answering my question.
And it is located under there's 2 sections under 2319. There's the ones that talk about single family houses, duplexes, and row houses. And then there's the one that talk about above 6 units. And we're also renumbering these because they used to be 1 through 12 and 1 through 12, but that also doesn't make any sense because it's section 2319, and then there's 2 number 2s, 2 number 3s, so it's actually incorrect the way it was written.
Can we look at the
Very
main language
confused, but
one more
gotcha.
time?
Okay.
Can you pull the main language up one more time of
Yep.
the actual motion?
Of the motion.
Motion or the
Yeah.
modification? That was just as to recommend the changes.
Ah. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I wanted more details there. I was just trying to make sure. Okay, so we've got the facade issue, which we've clarified that we don't think there's going to be a interpretation concern if the door doesn't actually cardinally face the street. But my question is do we need to determine, again, getting a little into detail, the street of the address?
That would be that actually.
the issue.
Yeah, I think that's a good point from the street from which you're
Probably.
addressed.
I'm trying to think of how we already define that. When we create an address, we do go off of where the door is. I'm trying to
And if they
think
have
how
no
we do that
front
in the
door,
reverse.
then
Right, so we have to
They have no
associate those
address.
two things together, that there needs
Yeah,
to be a
it does.
entrance door along the
Yeah.
facade of the home for which it's addressed.
I think it's
When
Right.
they sign the address, they give the house a front or the lot a
Front
front.
have a definition.
Well, it's usually when if it's a corner lot, it's usually the wider section is the front. Usually.
That would make sense.
sometimes,
But
the,
not
but not the
always.
one that's off of Stephen's home by that church in Marquette.
It's an emergency
Yeah.
response thing,
Yeah.
right? You want, wherever the address is where emergency vehicles are gonna go, so one presumes that that's what we wanna call the front.
Yeah.
Is there anything for addressing? I just assumed that she went by the numbers and picked.
Well, they get to pick which side their door's on, so that would be the front. So they have to pick which one's their front, and that's going to affect what their rear setbacks and side setbacks are.
Yeah.
So they get the
yeah.
choice
That's true.
either side.
And most houses don't really have a choice.
The corners.
And,
is
and
just
keeping
separate.
that option open helps us. Like that one Stevens home, we actually ran into a problem where it would have not met the setbacks had he chose the door on the other side. So
My question has more to do with corners, right?
Yeah,
So is
right.
this,
Oh, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
already been addressed, therefore
Yeah.
that's the front and that's where the door needs to be, or either corner can have a front door?
yeah, they can pick either as long as one of the sides of the street has a front door. It's fine,
Okay.
and that gives them the option of what they want to choose as their front and side and rear yards.
Okay, so does that translate to this well?
Yeah,
So
I
it's
don't
very
think there's
clear.
anything more
You know,
necessary. I
when
think
we're
leaving
all
it open is
confused.
going to give people more options.
Okay. Yeah, I would rather have it more open than too descriptive.
Yeah, my only thought there was, again, just emergency response vehicles and being able to know wherever the address is, there's a door somewhere.
I mean, and for the most part, for us, we're doing infill, so it's not like we're having new huge houses. Well, Windward Point, but
Right.
not huge new housing developments going in where we're going to have a lot of new lots that are
Right.
trying to decide. So,
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be very limited.
That does prevent, although there might already be another caveat, where the garage cannot be the only entrance to the front.
It's not a front door.
Yeah, it's not.
Garage.
All right, public hearing. This is a public hearing. Again, there is no one in the audience, so we'll go to the phones. 231-724-6721.
Nobody.
Oh, I moved to close the public hearing.
Support.
Moved and supported to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Hearing none. Public hearing is closed. Any final discussion? All right, roll call please. Oh, do we need to do?
Motion, yep.
I move the request to amend section 2319 of the zoning ordinance to modify the residential design criteria be recommended to the city commission for approval.
Support.
Moved and supported. Roll call.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
Mazade,
Yes.
Gawron,
Yes.
Cipher,
Yes.
Montgomery Keast,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Millette Leroy.
Yes. Motion passes. That concludes the public hearings for today. Do we have any unfinished business?
Nope.
Nothing from staff. Any new business? Seeing none. Any other business?
I have a question. Commissioner Montgomery
Yes.
Keast had a great question earlier with regard to the prospect of EV chargers being installed at the gas station. I'm just wondering, is it reasonable for us to contemplate going forward requiring gas stations to have some level of EV infrastructure? Just something for us to mull over and think about as we're transitioning.
Yeah, I'm a little
so-
worried about that in space. Not necessarily where the tanks are, but starting to think about where they would put EV chargers.
And I wasn't talking about this one specifically. I'm just
Yeah.
thinking
Yeah,
generally.
I hear you.
Like,
That's the same thing.
and it might not even be EV, but I don't even know. I'm just thinking out loud here because that begged the question of like, should we be looking to induce more of a transition or support the transition, whether it's to EV infrastructure or hydrogen infrastructure or some other alternative infrastructure to support that.
You have
I'm
an
gonna
answer?
go down here because we haven't had any.
I agree. I think that's something that is important. It seems to me that if we're going to look at trying to get places of business to put EV charging stations in, it seems to me that it might make some sense to look at places where somebody is going to go for a period of time, like a grocery store, places like that, and some in if you notice, I think it's out at the Myers in Norton Shore, out by the mall. I think they have a number of charging stations. I think places where somebody's going to go for a period of time. I know the newer EVs can charge in a relatively short period of time, maybe 20 to 30 minutes,
But still,
whereas it used to take a long
Several
time.
hours.
good point.
You know, I had two EVs, early generation, and they would take a long time to charge. But now that's not the case. But you still need probably a half an hour or so. So a gas station might work, but you know, most people are convenience store. Most people aren't going to be there very long.
And so that would certainly add in things like hotels, places where people are expected to come and stay and park their car. So,
Those would be great places.
That makes sense.
question over here?
I was going to say that some of the same things as Commissioner Mazade. The other thing I was going to say is that it might be maybe not something to require, but to try to incentivize through some zoning to add those in different locations. And as an FYI, we're adding 4 charging stations in the chamber parking lot across from the Delta and 4 on Webster between 2nd and 3rd in front of the museum and library. So, and we're gonna add a couple more at I think 2 more at the beach.
Nice.
Yeah. So we're kind of stepping into that. There's been some changes in how we can step into that realm. So that's good. So, yeah.
And I think just on the topic of things that we might be considering in the future, just for my timing, forgive me if I missed it, but we generally do like an annual review of planning.
Yep. I'm actually working on an update to our checklist for our master plan. We've done a lot of impressive things, and I
Love
want to
that.
show everybody
So
that
excited.
we've done. So hopefully, maybe next month, but definitely January. In January, we'll have a goal setting as well. That kind of got away from us this year, but we'll make sure to do that.
Can you
again
throw it on the
this year.
schedule ASAP?
I do have
Thanks.
2024, so if anyone wants a copy.
I just
No
like
later
to
than
plan.
January would be
Okay.
great. I think that it's, you know, we have to continue to go back to the master plan, and there's lots of action items and goals in there that we're charged with checking in on. So, any other business? Technically, this is general public comment time. Again, seeing no one in the audience, I'll go to the phones. 231-724-6721. We need a jingle.
We ought to plant some people in the audience one time.
While we're waiting, Steve Garan here hosted a great workshop meeting with the Strong Towns,
Oh, cool.
and it was very informational. And we got a chance to show off all the things we've done, a lot of the things that they were promoting, things we've already accomplished. So we were kind of tasked with telling the other participants some of the stuff we've done. So
And Strong
Very
Towns
good
is
event.
a planning organization that
Good
just
job,
promotes,
Steve.
you know, progressive and items that folks should consider when they're looking at master plans and city planning. So we've been on the forefront of that for a while. Thank you. I do not see anybody calling in, so I would take a
Nobody
motion
wants
to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, stay here. Thanks.
Great job. Yay. Wow, that was efficient.